Okay, what we're looking at here is adding integers, and what we're starting with is one that's negative, and then we're adding a positive. So we have kind of opposite signs. So if you look at this number line, you can kind of see that the first number is just where you start. So we're going to start at -2. Then we're going to add 5, so we're going to go right 5, and the spot where you end is basically going to be your answer. So the answer for this one is going to be 3. So that's kind of the visual interpretation of it. If you look down here where it says opposite signs, anytime you have opposite signs, what you could do is you could break up the bigger number. So the smaller number is -2. So I'm going to want to break it up so that the other number is +2 and something. So you see that you have a -2 and a +2. That disappears. That adds up to 0. And you're left with just a 3. So the 3 is your answer. Okay, again, we're adding integers. In this case, we still have a positive and we're adding a negative. So those are kind of like opposite signs. So we're going to kind of be able to treat it the same way. Remember that first number is kind of like your starting point. So we're starting at 3. Now we're going to add -7. If we were adding +7, we'd go right, but we're adding -7, so we have to go left. And you can see that where we end up is at -4. So your answer is -4. And again, because they're opposite signs, you can break up the big number, -7. You can see that because we have a +3, we want the -7 to break up into -3 plus something. And whatever's left is your answer. So we get -4 for the answer. So I'm kind of doing it two different ways and just showing you that you get the same answer. Okay, here we have the same sign. We have a positive and a positive that we're adding up. So that's the same sign. The 3 is still going to be the starting spot. We're going to start at 3. And we're going to add 6. It's a +6, so we're going to go right 6. And that gets us to 9. The answer will be 9. So that's your visual representation if we solve it on a number line. Usually we don't do it that way. Now at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and show you with the same sign. It's just an example with soccer balls. This is pretty obvious that if you had 3 soccer balls plus 6 soccer balls, that you would have 9 soccer balls. Okay, we don't have soccer balls. What we have is we have positives. So I've got 3 positives plus 6 positives. So that's 9 positives. So 9 positives, well, that's just +9. So the answer was +9. Again, we have the same sign. We have negative plus a negative. So that's the same sign. How do we solve that? Well, the first negative is just where you start. The second negative, we have -4. If it was +4, we'd go right 4. But because it's -4, we're going to go left 4. And wherever we stop, that's our answer. So we're stopping at -6. So your answer is -6. That's just the visual representation. Again, usually we don't solve it that way. Here's another example with soccer balls. If you had 2 soccer balls plus 4 soccer balls, that would equal 6 soccer balls. So we're going to do something similar down here. 2 negatives plus 4 negatives is 6 negatives. What does that mean to have 6 negatives? Well, it's kind of like -6. Okay, now we're going to do an example. We're going to use some bigger numbers. So you can see that we have a negative and we're adding a positive. So what we could do is we could take the biggest one and break it up into 2 smaller pieces. But these are kind of really big numbers. So we're going to break them up kind of in steps. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the -13. I'm going to make it -10 and -3. I'm also going to separate the 45 into just 40 plus 5. And this is definitely not the only way to do it. Now on the right side, I'm going to go ahead and separate the 40 into 10 plus 30. The reason I chose 10 is because I've got a -10 on the other side. And I'm going to separate the 5 into 3 plus 2. The reason I chose 3 plus 2 is because there's a -3 on the other side. So what I'm now going to be able to do is cancel a bunch of stuff. The -10 cancels with the +10 by design. The +3 is going to cancel with the -3 by design. So what I'm left with is I'm just left with a 30 plus a 2. So that's 32. What if we had 3 numbers? What would we do? Well, you want to start by combining the 2 that have the same sign. This is a positive, and this is also a positive. So we're going to get those together next to each other. So I'm moving these two. 23 plus negative 13 is the same thing as negative 13 plus 23. That's the commutative property of addition. Now I'm going to go ahead and add up the 2 that had the same sign. 23 plus 22 is just 45. Now the rest of it is going to be exactly the same as the previous problem, because our previous problem was negative 13 plus 45. Let me go back and show you. There it was. We got 32 for the answer. But this is just how you would handle an example that had 3 big numbers for integers that you had to add up.